We are live talking pencils.
Yeah, in high school art classes, they didn't let us use mechanical pencils. We only had to use the 2B
Yep,
for
I
everything.
understand that.
Here's the thing: we all had to take art classes until ninth grade, but they only let us draw, even if we didn't like drawing. But
ah,
they only let us use the 2B.
I had one. I think it was my drawing one class in college that didn't let us use pencil sharpeners. We had to carve our. We had to learn to with a pencil. We'd have and an X-Acto knife. We'd have to learn to carve the pencil into the shape we wanted. One of those sandpaper things too. You could shape it with. I got to say that worked pretty well.
I
Yeah.
It
see. Was your teacher a survivalist?
I don't think so, but he could have been. They were just
Did he have
teaching
a
us to
manifesto?
shape. We don't have to be slaves to the pencil point. We can shape it into whatever we want it to be.
Uh-huh.
Of course, now I just make it a point.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen those elongated point sharpeners? I've never gotten one. I've noticed them pop up in the last 5 years. They're for like a pencil like this, and you sharpen it to such a way where the point is like a half an inch tall, long, and it's really pointy. And I guess it's for doing some sort of delicate shading. But I was always like, wow, I'm not quite sure why I'd need that.
I
But
don't either. I'm quite heavy handed as it is.
yeah.
I know I would snap those points because I've done it so many times. So,
They're called
yeah.
long point pencil sharpeners.
Mhm.
I've wanted to get one. I just haven't yet. Someday I'll get one.
Ah,
Hot Sleepy Readers here with us. How you doing, Sleepy?
Hello.
Jared Heads.
Yeah, it's like I never had a need for a point like that. I know when I used to use a lot of mechanical pencils and I would buy the long leads as it is.
Yeah.
You could kind of put them in. You used to get the ones that were in the blue case because they were the cheapest, I think.
Right.
And so sometimes you would play around with them and make it really long to see if you can even work with that. But I
Oh,
don't.
you talking about a lead pointer?
Yeah,
Yes.
so that was about it. But as far as sharpening my own pencil, I've done it when I didn't have either a pencil sharpener or I needed something real quick. Yeah, I've done it. I've carved it, but
I actually gave away last year to a bunch of my students I think who made those? Beryl? Berol. I think that's who made for those of you who don't know what a lead pointer is, and unlike let's say these where this is a 0.7, so it's always at a point, they're called lead holders, even though they're graphite. And I don't know, they're about 4 millimeters thick, the leads, and you've got this little sharpener that you spin them in, and there's like sandpaper in the middle of the sharpener, and as you spin it, it brings it to a point. And a lot of artists use those, a lot of cartoonists use those.
Mhm.
They especially use the blue lead in them. And I had a bunch of them in the 90s. I used them a little bit. And I must have had half a dozen at least different hardnesses of lead. H, 2H, HB. They're usually all hard ones.
yeah.
And I don't think I touched them since the 90s. So it was last year I just brought them in and gave them out to my students.
Mhm.
Just because I was like, you know what? Which I did with a lot of my art supplies I hadn't touched in years. I was just like, you know what? I'm giving these to my students because I'm never going to use. They're just taking up room. So they appreciated them, even if I did not since the 90s. Yeah, I haven't used a lead. They're called a lead holder, and the sharpener is a lead pointer.
Right. I remember using them a lot. Again, in the 90s,
Yeah,
we used them a lot. It was like the in thing for a while. That
right. A
was
lot of comic book guys used them,
yeah.
and they'd make a really sharp point too.
Yes.
And a lot of comic book guys used the H's. Uh, the graphite pencils have a hardness scale that goes from the H's are the hardest ones, they make the lightest line, to the B's are the softest one, they make the darkest line. And a lot of comic book artists would use the H's, the hard ones, to make a really light line that they could ink over easily. So you could see some comic book artists' pencils and they're barely there. You're like, oh. And like 6H was like drawn with a piece of metal.
Yep.
If
Your students are your handy dumping ground. I've been giving them comic books and graphic novels this semester.
if you
Like
use different pencils for grayscale, does it work well in printing?
What was that?
If you use different pencils to get grayscale, does it come out well in printing? No.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
It's so much easier to vary your touch than to change pencils. Because when you think about it, let's just say you had 3 pencils, soft, medium, and hard, and you wanted to make a grayscale. To be or not to be? That is the question. I like 2B.
I do enjoy it 2B.
I got 2B in these, and I use 4B in wood.
Mm-hmm.
This is just an old click eraser. When I'm done with the eraser, I use them as pencil extenders. Works real well. But if you were to get 3 pencils, soft, medium, and hard, and you started with the soft one for the darks, and then you grabbed the medium one, you would have to vary your touch more than if you just kept going with the hard one. And then if you were to grab the light one, you would have to vary your touch even more. So I'm not saying nobody's ever done that as a technique. I don't know who has, but I think it would take more time and effort to master a grayscale technique with 3 pencils than with 1.
Yeah, because we don't in comics. We historically rarely printed from pencils. That's
Right.
more of a recent last 20 years type of thing. Before that, the reason why I was always pen and ink is mainly because of the printing process. Because printing was so cheap, you could do grayscales, but those are save for the magazines, the black and white magazines.
Yeah. And wash is a lot faster.
Yes,
that's why you always saw wash in those Conans.
Yes,
and ink wash is just a lot faster than shading everything by hand.
Mm-hmm. And I think easier to print from than trying it from pencils.
Slapy Reader likes Affinity, the timey-wimey limey's YouTube name. Did it? I'm trying to think if any. I remember there was in the early to mid 90s, there was a couple of people using a shaded colored pencil technique, but I've never seen that much shaded actual pencil. I'm trying to think. I mean, Gene Colan kind of did it all the time, which is why his stuff was so hard to ink.
Yeah, he's the only one I can think of that even was even attempting something, in that kind of vein.
If you've ever seen Gene Colan pencils, a lot of them look like they weren't even made to be inked.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of graphite on them and a lot of different values of graphite.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's the only one I know who works like that. The only one I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else who would have even attempted to do something in that vein.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just the limitations of the printing itself is why more experiments like that probably wasn't tried.
Yeah, it goes all the way. I haven't gotten back to it, but I've been reading. There's a book I got. I kickstarted, but I only got the digital version because the print version was ridiculously expensive. Called "The History of Comic Book Printing." So far, it's pretty good. But of course, it goes back before comic books to give you some of the printing, because printing was around before comic books, but even comic strips were sort of a result of printing technology changing, and you being able to get a good black line, print a good printable black line. That's kind of why comic strips were invented, because the technology encouraged it. And that's why we still, nowadays we can print, there's plenty of stuff without a black line on it, but still a lot of stuff has it because that's the way people know how to do it. They don't want to do full paintings for everything. And happy birthday to Paolo.
Happy birthday, Paolo.
He had a birthday show on Monday.
I'm sorry I missed it. I wasn't able to go.
Yeah, it was a last minute thing. So nobody watched it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He kept me company while I scanned a bunch of old family negatives, but we won't talk about that because that made everybody on the show disappear.
We had Sleepy Reader for a while. We had Sequential Geek.
Did you make it to the comic shop this week, Wilson?
As a matter of fact, I did. I made it on Wednesday, but my books didn't.
Oh, that's wrong.
So
that's just wrong.
So something happened with the truck that they use to ship, I guess, from the warehouse to the city stores. I did get an email telling me that my books are ready today, and I just did not make it out. But like I said, I did make it to the shop on Wednesday, and I did pick up books because these are the books that I picked up off the rack. So, so I do have books to show.
Show us one of them.
Godzilla, Monster Piece Theater.
All right, I got that one too. I'll show mine. There we go. I got the same cover.
You got the same cover?
Yep.
So I read this one on the train coming home and realized I didn't read the first issue. So I'm sitting there reading it. It's like, I have no memory of this. Okay, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the artwork on it. I'm enjoying the coloring of the artwork that's on there. It is definitely, it is not the traditional superhero type art that I'm used to.
No,
I'm liking the color choices.
Yeah.
And designs on them. At first, I wasn't too thrilled with them, but as I looked more at it, it's like, it's fascinating choices of colors in this. And it's just a fascinating story where you have characters from the Victorian age just make it on the cusp of all existing at the same time with Godzilla. And then Gatsby is the one that's leading the charge.
Yes.
To take Godzilla. And I'm fascinated by the fact that it's Jules Verne that's there, not Nemo. And it's wild that, some characters are literary characters and the other ones are the writers to those characters.
Jules Verne cyborg.
Yes.
As it says on the cover.
And again, such silliness, because this panel here, that's a Scooby-Doo panel.
Yeah.
that's the Scooby-Doo characters in the library reading and realizing the revelation of something, whatever it was in the cartoon. But that's where this is taken right out of. And even why he's named Godzilla.
Right.
It's just fascinating on there. And again, very interesting. And I'm wondering why certain choices were made that instead of being their characters, they're being some are characters, Sherlock Holmes, Great Gatsby, of course. But why not name the who's the person that runs the time machine?
Yeah, he said he won't give them his name. Maybe that's going to be a plot point later on.
Maybe, because we don't know who sabotaged the time machine. Right. I have an idea.
Well, the owner of the time machine doesn't have a name in the original story.
He did not?
No.
You know what? For some reason, I assumed it would have been H.G. Wells when he was the writer of it.
Well, it was, because in the movie with Rod Taylor, they call him George.
Right.
Herbert George Wells.
Okay. And I imagine who must be, again, without reading the first issue, if someone sabotaged the time machine, then it will make sense because we haven't heard anything from Moriarty. That's if Sherlock Holmes exists in this universe.
The first issue was mostly Gatsby.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, mostly Gatsby. But I like how they Jules Verne, the way they came up with the name Godzilla is Jules Verne says, "May we? Yes, I attempted a scientific designation, God-Z-111A." And that's when they all looked and said, Godzilla.
But I'm enjoying it that they're making that work. And I'm again surprised because at first, again without reading the first issue, I thought they were individual stories where Godzilla ran into this character, character, that character. I did not realize they were all together in kind of a league of a story.
This issue is kind of like the first issue, like I said, was mostly Gatsby putting together the G-Force to fight Godzilla, and he met Sherlock Holmes briefly. And I think Jules Verne came in, but it's like they didn't. This is the issue they all team up,
right?
So you kind of, you can pick up the story pretty well, as I imagine you did, not having read that first issue, because this is where they first team up to go against Godzilla. And
I was able to get right into it.
Even Tom and Daisy are on the team this issue, which they weren't in the first in the first issue. Godzilla attacked one of Gatsby's parties. That's what, and it put Daisy, her husband and wife, were in the hospital, and Gatsby went off to fight Godzilla. So then in this issue, he recruits Tom, and it's funny because he's in love with Daisy, and Tom is Daisy's wife, and they don't like each other.
Yeah.
And there's I love the one part too where is it? Here we go. Gatsby attempts to propose to Daisy, who's already married to Tom, and gives her a ring, and she says, "What am I supposed to do with this?"
Yes.
What do you think I want this? I don't want this. I'm sorry, I made it about me. We could have been gloriously, sublimely unhappy together. Not the vague malaise of most couples, but a cataclysmic, sublime, explosive unhappiness, a beautiful misery. I just love that idea that she's like, what are you trying to... No, we're going to be miserably unhappy. That's our destiny.
Right.
Merry Christmas, Tit Goblin.
Merry Christmas, Tit Goblin.
Yes, this is the last.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed issue 2. I forget how many issues it is.
I'm going to assume it's 3 or 4.
Because they're big issues. It's $7. I think it's at least 40 pages. Let's count pages. There's 40 pages. So so they're big issues. So like I said, I can't remember how many. I hate when they don't tell us.
Yeah.
Tell us. I wish they would. Special thanks to Aaron John Gregory and all of Toho for their invaluable assistance. And Godzilla, they just can't do anything against Godzilla either. They just keep trying to do stuff. That I like the part too where they electrified the Eiffel Tower.
Yes. And I love that they give it that cartoony, you could see a skeleton.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Of course, anything they do barely
great.
slows Godzilla down. Then at the end, of course, Dracula shows up and kidnaps and it looks like next issue we get the mummy and the werewolf along with Dracula and I don't know who that bat guy is. Oh no, that's Frankenstein's monster. I see, and Dracula. So next issue we get Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, the werewolf, and Dracula against Godzilla. He's calling out all the stops. And the only other cover that was in my shop was this one right here. This sort of, I think it's supposed to be the Strand magazine that Sherlock Holmes first appeared in.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the other covers in it. That's why I ended up getting this one. I mean, the Jim Mahfood one is really nice.
Yeah.
So those are the ones I probably would have got that one if they had it, or the other one that kind of looks more like a painting from the New Yorker.
Yeah.
This one here, I would have gotten that one as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the cover we got.
No,
but it was just like one of those.
Yeah.
Is that these were the only choices?
Patrick Horvath. And this is, of course, the Tom Scioli cover.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I'm enjoying this series more than I thought I would.
I am as well. It's just a, just the quirkiness of it.
Yeah.
I can see why you like it because it does touch on the Great Gatsby, but it also has that independence artist look to it as well. And I'm pleasantly surprised how much fun I'm having with this book.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it a lot.
Now you'll have to read the first issue.
Yes, I have it on my pile here. It might even be up here for all I know from these other books from a couple of weeks ago. I might have them up here.
There's various piles of books.
No, it's not in this pile. I mean, I have Godzilla stuff in it. and a Chris Giarrusso Venom Wars. Well, these are from last month because they have in this pile. I have issue 11 for Secret Wars, and this week I picked up issue 12 of Secret Wars. So this stack is from last month. So I should have the Godzilla one around here somewhere. I'll look for it tomorrow. Tomorrow's my reading day for the weekend.
Yeah, next week it's Christmas, and I won't be able to get to the comic shop until Saturday.
Right. I probably won't get there till Friday.
My shop isn't open on Fridays.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No. Otherwise, I could get there on Friday. But
right.
Have to wait till Saturday. I don't think I've had to wait till Saturday for a comic shop visit in a long time. Back in the 90s, probably in the 80s and 90s, Saturday was my normal day for the comic shop because I was working all week. Mm-hmm. So I'd go on Saturdays mornings to the comic shop. That would be my normal. My friend Rob and I would we'd usually hit the comic shop. And then on our way back, hit the local mall and check out the bookstore. There was a Walden Books, or I think it was a Walden Books in the mall that we used to check. And then the video game store. That was our usual comic shop trip. We'd go to the comic shop, the bookstore, and the usually a couple of video game stores, because every mall in like 1993 had like 2 or 3 video game stores in it.
Yeah, and they would be, if it wasn't Walden's, it would be Border Books.
We had a Barnes and Noble, but I don't think we had a Borders.
Yeah, we had I went to Borders a lot more than Barnes and Nobles, and then Walden Books was the main thing, and then we had the comic book shop. Usually, when we hit the comic book shop, usually new comic book day is when I would run to people that I only knew at the comic book shop, and we would usually go get dinner afterwards, which would normally be either Chinese or pizza. We kind of like, and then just sit there and kind of trade the books we don't normally buy for ourselves and read everyone else's books, and we get like a full amount of book reading done there, you know, because it's like, oh, what are you reading? Oh, I'm not reading that book. And then you end up kind of reading everything, but you only bought the main ones you wanted.
You only bought the ones you're going to keep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, were there books that you were like, ooh, I'm going to buy that one now? That were so good that you had to buy them? Or were you just like, yeah, I'll read his next month?
Not all the time. It varied. It kind of varied on it, because it was I was already getting a discount because I was working in the comic book shop.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up picking up a lot of books.
Yeah, I imagine so. Working at the comic shop.
So I ended up picking up a lot, you know. So I work in the comic book shop, get paid, then spend my money there. What I would do sometimes is, when a customer would recommend a book, I would most likely give that a try more so than if my friend was, because I could always, like you mentioned, I could always read my friend's book next month.
Right.
But that's how I got into the Dark Horse books, is because one of the customers kept praising some of the Dark Horse stuff. May have been Dark Horse Presents at that time, and talking about that, and then that introduced you to a little bit of everything. So sometimes I would get books that way that would be recommended. And then even later, you know, working at Marvel, we got everything for free. So I kind of felt obligated to bring them all home and try to read them all.
Yep.
And then when I left,
that was your duty?
Yeah, that was my duty, to read those books. And then once I left Marvel and I had to pay for these books out of pocket, I got really quick to go, all right, what books I don't need to read, because they're not really good.
It's not my duty anymore.
It's not my duty anymore. We're cutting those out. And, you know, now we're getting picky. Once it's on your own dime, then it was basically, you know, making a choice to what to be put on the pull list. But even though if I had books on the pull list, I still grab stuff off the shelf.
Right.
You know, and then once the comic shop closed up, that was it. It was like, I'm freed. I'm done. They closed up the shop. I'm walking away from it, all of it. If I get it with my bundle, if I get it because I worked on the project, that's how I'll get the books, and I'll read them that way.
And after skipping the annual that started off this Master of Kung Fu omnibus, I read the first 2 issues, and boy, what a difference. Last week, I think I got this 2 weeks ago, and last week I was like, I started trying to read it, but it started with a annual #1 from whenever, and it's just so mediocre that I got only a few pages into it and was like, I don't think I can read this. It's just so there's being that this is kind of my era as a kid of Marvel Comics, I'm very familiar with late 70s mediocre Marvel Comics, mid to late 70s mediocre Marvel Comics. And they're mediocre at best. But it then starts with, what issues are this? Issues 38 and 39, which are really good. Talk about a dichotomy, because the annual was by, I think it's all written by Doug Minch. The issues ended, yeah, Doug Minch, but writer Keith Pollard is the artist, and Tartag and Voland are the inkers. And the art wasn't bad, but it was just this Iron Fist and Shang-Chi team up, and it had no style. And they were fighting some magic user. And like Iron Fist was just like punching the bolts the magic user was sending. He was just like punching whatever magic blast he was sending, using his Iron Fist to counter them. And it was just like, okay. They were, like I said, but then this is the start of, I don't think I ever read 38, but I have 39. And this is actually a famous Shang-Chi story. I remember reading about this story when I was younger, before I actually read it. And it's Shang-Chi, it's Paul Galassi co-plotting and Doug Minch scripting. And just very stylishly drawn. And the story is just so much better than that annual. Have you ever read the story with the cat, Paolo?
No.
It's interesting because, like I said, I remember like reading about this story whenever I was reading about comics when I was a kid. This was like everyone's favorite Shang-Chi story, and it's 2 issues. And Shang-Chi goes to Hong Kong. What's his boss's name? The British guy, I forget.
Nayland Smith.
Nayland
Smith. Yeah.
Nayland Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He sends Shang-Chi, or his underling sends Shang-Chi to Hong Kong to assassinate the cat. And Shang-Chi's like, I'm not your assassin. And he's like, yeah, we need you to pull out our agent there, this woman. And he's like, I'm not your assassin. He's like, I'll go over there and check things out. And so, and the cat is as good a martial artist as Shang-Chi. So that's what makes this issue so special, too. So he goes to Hong Kong, not to assassinate. He's like, I'm not going to say. He's going to check in with this undercover British agent, this femme fatale woman. Well, it turns out she is the cat's girlfriend, and she's in love with the cat. So she doesn't want to work for Nayland Smith anymore. She wants to stay there with the cat who she's in love with. And meanwhile, there's also there's a street gang, Hong Kong street gang, which we all know. And they come in, they get into a fight with Shang-Chi and the cat, who kind of like, they kind of kick their ass, even though like the cat is using the street gang to display his martial arts prowess to Shang-Chi, to let Shang-Chi know that if he comes after him, he's going to get his ass kicked. So now the cat wants to kill his girlfriend for being a British agent and spying at him. But the girlfriend is like, no, I'm in love with you. I'm not a British agent anymore. He's like, I'm going to kill you anyway for betraying me. So then Shang-Chi has to like protect the female British agent from the cat. Of course, they end up fighting, the cat and Shang-Chi. But she doesn't want to go back to London. She wants to stay with the cat. Shang-Chi's like, you can't stay with the cat. He's going to kill you. Then gangsters come in who are like, you two fighting is not good for business. We stay out of the cat's business. But if you two are going to fight, it's going to bring eyes on our gangster business. So you guys got to get out of here. So then the and what's interesting too is the street toughs were getting to Shang-Chi by calling him a white man, because Shang-Chi worked for British intelligence. They were basically calling him a race traitor and a white man. And the cat was doing that too. So Shang-Chi was also having this identity crisis, saying, what am I doing? This guy thinks I'm his assassin. And so it's just so well done and such an interesting story, especially compared to that annual. Now you're sleepy. I analyze time travel. Sleepy. Sometimes the Marvel mess of the year really made a huge difference depending on. Yeah, Galassi is even credited as co-plotting, so you can tell. The writer was probably inspired by the artist's pencils of his game. Yeah, upped his game. It was like it was written by two different people because Galassi was writing. That's what co-plotting means. But just, I can remember. I did not see the Shang-Chi movie. Did either of you two see it?
I saw it.
Yeah. But I remember when the trailer came out and our friend Bunch asked me, what did you think of the trailer? I said, I thought the trailer was okay, but I saw no trace of Shang-Chi because I would call Shang-Chi the most stylish 1970s Marvel comic, especially the Paul Galassi stuff. Mike Grell and Gene Day, too. But it had a lot of style to it. Most Marvel comics didn't have a lot of style to them. And I mean kind of real world style in the clothes and the way people act. And the plots were all different. Like, sort of the plot. I would describe the basic plot of Shang-Chi as conflicting worldviews and philosophies. On one hand, we have Shang-Chi and all the British people, the colonizers, who were like Western civilization kind of has things under control and is better, so therefore you should listen to us. And you had, Hong Kong and the Chinese going, we don't want to, just because you're in charge doesn't mean your way is better. We've got our own way. We want to be in charge. And those ideologies always conflicted. And often like sort of the British Western ideology came down to, well, maybe we don't have the better philosophy, but we're in charge. It went from sort of we have the better philosophy sometimes to the philosophy of power. We got the biggest warships, so we're in charge. And like on the Hong Kong Chinese side, it was often like, well, we want to be in charge of ourselves, and we'd rather have a Chinese tyrant than a British tyrant. Sort of thing. So there was all these levels in Shang-Chi. Like I said, with Shang-Chi saying, I'm an agent of the British. I'm like saying I'm nobody's assassin. I'm not assassinating anyone for the British. So that's part of what, besides the Paul Galassi drawings and the layout, that's part of what made Shang-Chi so stylish, is all the different undercurrents going on of people's, which they probably took a lot from Hong Kong movies too, because there was a lot of that sort of, they sort of took a lot of the conflict that was in Hong Kong movies and took the conflict that was in British spy novels and welded them together into this thing. Now, not that the British weren't in the Hong Kong stuff too, because they were in charge of so they were in a tradition kind of.
Yeah, there was definitely an interest in New Age philosophy there, because that's how in the 70s, when people got interested in pop philosophy, if it was Eastern mysticism, it was definitely a postmodernist take on the thing. It's not like they cared what it was about. It was mostly that it was a novelty item.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the movie is nothing like that at all.
No.
It was entertaining.
Right.
But if you were thinking you're getting a 70s Hong Kong flick, you are not at all. It is Shang-Chi in name only, basically.
Right.
It's if you read the comics, you're going to get a few things out of it, but they kind of merged a lot of concepts of the MCU where, you have the hidden Chinese area, very similar to like Iron Fist, that his mother comes from that kind of
Right.
great iconic, great looking things. They had really cool Chinese creatures that looked beautiful, animated on television, on in the movies, and it was really cool to see that type of stuff. So the magic part of it was interesting. The connecting stuff that the Mandarin is his father was all wild stuff, but again, you couldn't use Fu Manchu as being his father, so they merged some concepts and ideas, and it had a lot of fun in the sense of if you enjoy watching a karate flick, this had that type of stuff. And then characters from the comic books like Razor Fist and stuff like that were in it.
I never thought like Shang-Chi fit into the regular superhero Marvel universe either. Because Shang-Chi's world is an unsuperpowered one.
Right.
It doesn't make like even him teaming up with Iron Fist was silly. Fighting a magic what's Shang-Chi gonna do against a magic user?
Right, you're not gonna have any of that. What at best you had the type of James Bond super machinery that you get used to seeing in spy flicks, because the idea of putting British intelligence versus a Chinese world conqueror, it's a plot right out of a James Bond movie. But for that, you don't need superpowers. You just as long as you have crazy machinery, especially because the things that they do to a lot of the supervillains that Shang-Chi goes up against, they've been mutilated. So that's why you end up with Razor Fist and a few of the other guys who have weaponry attached to their hair and stuff like that. Even when a Razor Fist and Velcro come back, it's not just Razor Fist. It's not just a new Razor Fist. It's also Velcro has been turned into a cyborg. So you throughout the series you get a lot of people who become weapons themselves. But apart from that, there are no armors with repulsor rays. You'd think that some of those guys would have access to Hydra technology. They'd get some dreadnoughts to work for them or something. But you don't even have that. They're separated.
Because none of that works in Shang-Chi's world. The whole idea of Shang-Chi is he can beat anybody up with his kung fu.
Yeah.
And, that kung fu doesn't work against Spider-Man. Or it's like it kind of he like even in that team up with Iron Fist, he kind of becomes pointless when you need Iron Fist there to punch the magic bolts. Shang-Chi can't do anything against that. So it's kind of like Shang-Chi works best not in the Marvel universe. But of course, since it's Marvel, they got to fit everyone into the Marvel universe.
Yep. One happy family.
But ultimately, when you see Shang-Chi interacting with other heroes, it's not in the Master of Kung Fu comic.
Right.
It's when he gets stars somewhere else. I get in Deadly Hands, they kind of mix them together. So,
right. I haven't read many of those Deadly Hands Kung Fu.
But I suppose we can say that the Deadly Hands aren't really part of the ongoing storyline.
Sort of like another one I never thought fit into Marvel Universe, of course, is Deathlock.
Yep.
He just like the original Deathlock Astonishing Tales series is still one of my favorites. But the basic concept of Deathlock was he was this soldier that died, and they built this cyborg and put his brain in it to try to use as sort of a computer for the cyborg, but it turned out his consciousness was in it. So he was basically a dead soldier brought back in this zombie suit. Right. He's a zombie now in this post-apocalyptic world.
Universal soldier.
And when you bring him back to the Marvel universe, he's just another cyborg. He's just another mechanical guy. There's nothing There's nothing tragic about him. There's nothing interesting about him. He's just another cyborg hanging out there.
Yeah, they decided to have the Spider-Man run around the time stream on a couple of issues in Marvel Team Up,
which was a really good run in Marvel Team Up.
Right, but that opened the door. Now that Deathlock interacted with Spider-Man or Killraven interacted with Spider-Man, now we get to have all of them interact with the rest. Both of them interact with the rest of the Marvel universe,
right?
Because they can't resist the urge to play with those characters in the fake setting. It's like when they brought the Eternals into the Marvel universe.
Right.
There's no Marvel. Even when they made Jack Kirby put the Hulk inside there, or they changed one of his captions to say Nick Fury's man when a security force goes after the Celestials in the Andes, and they changed it so that it was S.H.I.E.L.D. That wasn't Kirby's idea. There's no S.H.I.E.L.D. There's no Nick Fury.
Right.
There's no Thing.
No Hulk. It makes sense not in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea is that they're hidden. Nobody knows people with superpowers, so that's why they're hidden. When they finally show themselves, and one of the things that it's when the deviants attack New York. Oh look, some other ugly-looking guys come out of the ground. Must be the Mole Man again. Will somebody please call Fantastic Four so that because I got to get work.
Though I have to say, when what was it? Years ago, when I read Earth X, I think it was the one by who did that? Is that John Paul Leon drew it? Alex Ross designed it.
Yes.
They actually made sense out of like the whole history of the Marvel universe, where they had this crazy thing where the Celestials involved, and the Celestials were the big bads of the Marvel universe, and Galactus, I think, and the Celestials would grow in planets. So somehow their planets were like a womb for Celestials, and Galactus was actually going around. He was somehow a Celestial kill. When he was eating a planet, it was because there was a Celestial in there, and he was the one who was supposed to keep the Celestials in check. So he really wove a big tale around the history of the Marvel universe that was like quite imaginative.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the rest of the story, but I remember that being very imaginative.
It's how they merged the idea that how the Eternals were created is also how why there are mutants.
Yeah,
and why everybody evolves into a mutant.
The Eternals went from the in the Jack Kirby series. The Eternals were just this beings so far above and beyond us that we could not affect them in any way. They were a concept. There was nothing we could do about the Eternals. They were going to come down and judge us, and nothing we can do about it. That was the whole point of the Eternals. When they merged them into the Marvel Universe, they just became another power level. So it was like, we'll just get the Eternals killing sword and take care of them, which is what they did, I think.
They also had to merge the Eternals into the Titanians. So now Mentor, who was Thanos' father, now had to become an Eternal.
Yep.
They did that in a series of backups in What If, which were written by Grunwald. Actually, no, they weren't written by Grunwald. They were written by Peter B. Gillis, but Grunwald
was in. Roy Thomas wrote the Eternals and Thor, right? He was the one who. I think he was the one who did that when they tied them into the Marvel universe.
I wasn't reading them. The Eternals had never did anything for me, so whenever I see them, it was to me, it was always oh, they're trying these guys again. And it did nothing for me. I like individual characters.
Right.
So I like Cersei when she was running around with the Avengers. And I like some of the characters that way. But as far as being their own thing with the deviants, it was just like it just isn't doing anything for me.
That's also because, like I said, I had maybe half of the Eternals issues as a kid. I don't think I ever bought any off the stands, but I had maybe half to a little more than half of the issues, and I always liked them. And I liked that they weren't in the Marvel Universe, even though it took me a while to figure that out. So I always liked it, but I didn't read all the issues till about 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like them.
Yeah, for me, I ranked them there with the Inhumans. For a while, I wasn't even sure who was who, because it was the whole hidden away from the rest of the Marvel Universe type of thing. Then they were in the Himalayas for a while, then they were on the moon, and then again, not paying too much attention, knowing that,
right.
Oh, they're both Jack Kirby creations. What are they? And then it's like, whenever they showed up, again, in my mind, I always put, it's one of these stories.
You never read the original Eternals back then?
I did not read the original Eternals when they came out.
Yeah, okay. So I can see how you think they were like the Inhumans, yeah.
Right. So I only knew of them as in they were mentioned and they were named.
Right. And they'd pop
like
up
I said,
now and then.
At first, when I've heard about them, it's like, is this just another offshoot of Inhumans?
Right.
But at least with the Inhumans, they popped up more. So I was aware of them. Where the Eternals, I think I probably wasn't aware of the Eternals until probably the miniseries.
Okay.
That they had, that I think Grunwald wrote.
Yeah, I think Grunwald wrote that one. I have a vague memory of it.
So I know I remember it was like a 9-issue miniseries. And I didn't
bother. Comic Trend. Great shirt, Jared. Sharp colors. Yeah. My Miami Dolphins like colors.
The Eternals have a 12-issue miniseries in the 80s after they all left Earth.
Okay.
That was the whole point. And only the characters which people knew stayed on Earth.
Okay.
I only like the Jack Kirby Eternals. Anything else to me is just like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just background characters. Let's see another comic I got this week. The Tin Can Society, issue 4 of 9. This is the one, they're called the Tin Can Society because there were 5 of them as kids. And they've had some treasure buried in a tin can or something. And one of them went on, who was handicapped, he was on crutches. He went on to become a great inventor. And one of the things he tried to do was become Iron Man. He built himself a suit. It was sort of a natural extension of he built things to help him walk. He built like legs to help him, mechanical legs that he wore around his legs to help him walk so he wouldn't need the crutches. So he naturally built a whole suit of armor and sort of decided to become a superhero. And this issue is about one of the 5 friends who was explaining to them what went wrong. And by the way, someone killed him and stole the superhero suit. So his 4 friends are trying to figure out who killed him and who stole the suit. So a lot of this issue is the 4 friends talking and flashing back to up there he is with his crutches hitting someone. Flashing back to when something went wrong in the superhero suit, trying to figure out the murder mystery of who killed him. So it's been a fun series so far. Like 4 out of 9 issues. Peter Warren is our writer. Francesco Mobili is our artist. Chris Chuckery is the colors, and Jackie Marzan is the letters. But I've been enjoying this one. Good stuff. It's good stuff. And it's a giant generator from Image, which is the Rick Remender imprint. So Rick Remender, Peter Warren and Rick Remender are credited as story, but Rick Remender is not credited on the cover. So I imagine he came up with a concept with Peter Warren, and now Peter Warren's writing it. I would guess. Not knowing how some of these imprints work. That seems like how it would work to me. Want to show us a comic, Wilson?
Sure. So another book that I picked up, facsimile edition of Amazing Spider-Man 263. This is the introduction of the new webhead in town. Is this kid Spider? He was originally he's connected to, I think, the Frog. Like, this is the kid, the Frog's kid. And then he had a run-in with Spider-Man, was inspired by Spider-Man, and then he basically created a suit to become a kid Spider.
Well, that's the guy. That's the kid who was Dr. Octopus's groupie. He went running around like he wanted to help Dr. Octopus, and then Spider-Man stopped him, and he turned the. He actually had tentacles that worked. His legs were the tentacles. He turned the tentacles into legs.
You are right. I mixed this up. That later on, this kid teams up. With the Frog. Yeah,
exactly.
So obviously, I haven't reread this since 1984.
Now, have they been reprinting those in order or just picking issues? Because that seems to be it.
They seem to be like they've been publishing. I'm wondering if they're just publishing all the Black Suit stuff when he came back from Secret Wars.
Okay.
Because this is that time period.
Right.
And they've been printing up. They may be printing up this year's books.
Okay.
I haven't really sat down and looked through what they've published. I don't know. These might have been very well monthly, and I just didn't realize it. So I'm not sure how they're picking the ones they're republishing.
Because I've seen a few from that era that seem to be random to me.
Yeah. So
here we go. Random Rip says they're in order and they're only doing it for a year. Okay.
Okay. So this is basically the Black Suit Saga.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the Black Suit, first year of the Black Suits.
Yes.
And Comic Rack says Chris Chuckery. He's a Winnipegger. He's the colorist on Tin Can Society. Comic Crack is from Winnipeg also. My son went to school with his son. I think he's one of the founders of Digital Chameleon. Okay.
Oh, all right.
The Coloring House. I've heard of them.
What I like about the Spider Kid's costume is that he has to have a place for his glasses to stand.
There's a Star Comics ad on the back. Hold on.
There's a Star Comics ad on the back of it.
Heathcliff.
Yeah, let's make that bigger for you.
Sure.
Star Comics. Heathcliff. Who's the moose? Somebody moose?
The moose is from the Get Along Gang.
An Ewok. Strawberry Shortcake. Planet Terry. And who's the Robin Hood guy?
Wally the Wizard.
Wally the Wizard.
Wally the Wizard.
And this was even before they put Spider-Ham into the roster.
Yeah. Down there it said we can see, and introducing the newest superstars, Spider-Ham.
Yep.
So he's coming up. Heathcliff. Wow.
These are a lot of fun because I love the house ads and the designs for the house ads.
Yeah. Coming soon. Don't miss an issue.
Bi-monthly.
I've been seeing the DC facsimiles from the Golden Age, but I've been passing on all of them. Just because they're expensive and I know I'll never read them.
Right. Plus, the Golden Age does not attract me with the DC books.
Yeah.
I've tried to read some of the Golden Age stuff, and it's just.
But even the Silver Age, I'm pretty sure I have the Millennium Edition with the first Supergirl.
Yeah, I think I have that too.
Yeah, even that Silver Age is. I actually prefer to reading the Golden Age because I think it's more honest because they're all trying to figure out how to create comic books. But in 1958, DC, man, they're going nowhere.
No, not at all.
Yeah, Brandon Riff says, I picked up Detective Comics because it's so iconic. I wanted to check out the ads. LOL. Yes. I think I got that one too. Did I get Detective Comics? And I even bought the giant hardcover version of More Fun, #1, the first DC comic.
Yeah, you definitely can't read that.
No, it's...
Yeah, I've tried to read a few Golden Age Supermen. They're interesting because what fascinated me about it, and I think I shared it because I had whatever DC's version of Masterworks are.
Archives.
I had the DC archives. So I have some Superman ones, and it's fascinating because you could see they drew one shot of him flying, and they basically copied and pasted that shot of flying because even flying was new to Superman.
Yeah.
So they weren't really creating flight. They just drew one flight of him zooming across, and they basically, I don't know if they were cut and pasting or they were kind of cut and pasting and just tracing it, but it's the same pose.
I remember I read an article, I can't remember where, it was so long ago, on the development of the vocabulary of flying in comics.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had to figure out, how do you draw somebody flying? And It went from, they had all different arm poses. It settled on the arms in front of you like that. But that took them years to get to that.
Right.
Random Rip said, did you get any of the treasuries? I had Superman versus Muhammad Ali was my kid, so I picked up one of those. So expensive, though, $20. Yeah, $20 for one of those treasuries doesn't seem so bad for me because they were expensive back then.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. I picked up the hardcover Superman versus Muhammad Ali that came out in like 2012. I think that was like $40. So I really splurged on that one. That's so. And I picked up one of the Superman. I think I picked up the Neil Adams treasury that came out a couple of weeks ago. And that one was okay. Just because I like looking at the art that big, but once again, they came out with another Batman one, and I was like, I think they're like $17. I was like, I think there was another one that was just on final order cutoff too. I don't think I ordered it. It's like I think it had some Golden Age DC stuff in it.
Yeah, I see those at the shop every now and then. It's like, oh, that's cool that came out. I didn't budget for it. Maybe I'll put some money away for it and then never think about it again the moment I walk out of the shop.
Maybe I'll pick that up someday when I've only got 2 comics on my pull list.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else came out this week. The final 6th and final issue of Paranoid Gardens, which the Chris Weston art in this has just been terrific. I mean, he's just been drawing the hell out of everything in this book. I mean, I just love this establishing shot.
I bet it took forever for him to draw that.
Yeah.
That's why you don't see much Chris Weston.
Everything is just, he just drew the hell out of everything in this.
That's the one who really enjoys drawing.
Yes.
For the sake of drawing.
Because I have 2 things that he did way back then: Ministry of Space with Warren Ellis,
right,
and the Filth, which is Grant Morrison's worst comic.
Ministry of Space is good. I have that one too. But I mean, the story, it ended about how you'd think it was, because the story was about this mysterious place, Paranoid Gardens, that somehow was alive. And it was like an old folks' home for superheroes and aliens who would go there to get better. And our lead character is this woman who she had some sort of repressed memory, we knew, that she was hiding from herself, and she could help heal people. And then there were these Mickey Mouse type guys, forget what they were called, but they were sort of like this Mouseketeers. It was as if the Mickey Mouse Club was a front for a cult. That's who they are. And this issue ended the story and explained things. It wasn't great, but it was fine. You know, it was one of those things where it wasn't, you know, there wasn't any really there wasn't any resolution that blew your mind, but it was still fine. Let's see. Yeah, $17. I got the blank sketch cover, dreaming of commissioning someone to do something on it. Spider-Man versus Tyson, maybe. Yeah, I saw that they had one of the. I think on the last one that I saw up on Final Article, I was like, man, who's getting? I wonder who's drawing on those Treasury editions. Love Paranoid Gardens. Yeah, it's a good one. Like I said, it's the Chris Weston art really sold me on this. I enjoyed it thoroughly. He just drew the hell out of everything. All the clothes, all the backgrounds, he drew rugs everywhere. Like Wilson just said, you can tell that's a guy who loves drawing.
Yeah, basically.
Really does. He wanted to just draw. Read anything this week, Paolo?
Kinda. So the Johnny Quest ended its current run, so it's going on hiatus until the next miniseries. I guess it was fun, but it was not a typical Johnny Quest story because he had time travel.
Now, why would a licensed book need to go on hiatus?
Well, instead of trying to make Johnny Quest an ongoing series, let's do a mini series. We take a break.
Okay.
Then he comes back.
Yeah, all right. I mean, because to me it seems like, you know, you just hire the next creative team and get them working. So it's kind of like, it's weird that, but now that you meant the market probably dictates hiatuses give people a little chance to miss it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if they will.
Because these guys are doing Johnny Quest, they're doing Dick Tracy, they're doing Flash Gordon, they're doing Defenders of the Earth.
Oh, is it Mad Cave?
I think it's
because Mad Cave is doing Dick Tracy.
Is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that sounds correct with the other titles he mentioned.
I don't know who's doing Johnny Quest.
Yeah, Dick Tracy is Mad Cave. Johnny Quest, I think it's IDW right now.
Okay.
No, it's Dynamite. Dynamite's doing Johnny Quest. And Flash Gordon is Dynamite as well.
I wonder if Johnny Quest fans are going to stick around for a second.
Flash Gordon is also Mad Cave. And Defenders of the Earth, it should also be Mad Cave, yeah. But they're kind of the same style.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying Space Ghost. I look forward to it more than any other book right now. So well done, says Random Rips. Same as Space Ghost. So the Space Ghost and Johnny Quest are IDW?
Are Dynamite.
Are Dynamite?
And the newspaper strips are with Mad Cave.
Okay.
The Defenders of the Earth comic's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun because I was used to the Phantom and Mandrake on comic strips, but as part of a team now they are superheroes. I
wonder if Johnny Quest fans are more casual comic fans.
Could be. Maybe they show up on bookstores. It's easier to show up on bookstores.
Or someone like Tim Howlermouse. I know he's been picking up Johnny Quest, but he doesn't pick up many current books. So if like Johnny Quest goes away, will he pick up the second series? I wonder. I just wonder how. I don't know how casual fans work. And most comic fans are more casual fans, but they're casual fans of like Marvel and DC. They can always go into the comic shop and pick up a Spider-Man. But will they always be? I don't know. I don't know how that will they won't always be able to pick up a Johnny Quest. But is that because, like you said, since probably Johnny Quest is, Sleepy Reader says casual nostalgia fans, I'd say. Yeah. I mean, like Johnny Quest probably is a good, like you said, it's a good thing they're going on break because casual nostalgia fans maybe can keep up with 6 issues, but not an ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
But will they be around for that second series? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
If they know that it's going to come out, sure. I think they're thinking about a 3-month break, so which is not too much.
Right.
But it's that thing where, like when you said that the average comic reader, you read 5 comics a year.
Right.
So it's not 5 titles; it's 5 comics.
Right.
So you buy this set of Johnny Quest, and then you get more. In the new way, you didn't get more. So it's better this way, I guess.
Random Rip says, nostalgia fans don't normally buy comics.
Mm-hmm.
They should probably gravitate to the trade editions, but there is a zero marketing of trades when it comes to most comics. Yeah, that's because there's no marketing budgets in comics. There just isn't.
Yeah, I mean the marketing. Okay, let's put a page on the previous catalog. There's your marketing.
Can't even do that anymore because so many people don't ship through Diamond. And Marvel, DC, and Image all have their own catalogs now.
And I'd like to know who's in charge of the of social media posting on the publishers.
Yeah,
somebody has to be in charge of it, even if it's.
Because I think there's probably more. I would think social media marketing. What could be more effective than that in this day and age? Because that's what people are looking at. I don't know. Once again, I don't know how you do that.
Unfortunately, with publishing companies, they usually get the young intern. Oh, you could be the social media person. You know how to use social media. And they don't. They just happen to have social media. And they know how to use it in the sense of, I can upload this file here. I know how to do, like, they at least did their homework on how the technology works. I've watched it at Marvel. For a while, my department was the social media department. And they were
They've got to be more savvy now, right?
Again, it's a department that, if speaking on the Marvel mentality of 20, 30 years ago, the mentality was we don't want to hire somebody. This is new technology. Yeah. So if
you can stop right there. We don't want to hire somebody.
We don't want to hire someone. So if you're already doing something, we'll have you do some of it for a little while. And you could post the following stuff. And it's like, okay. But again, it's like, oh, that department isn't making us money that we can see. Get rid of them. Because they're the first ones to be cut.
Yeah, you know what I've seen from
SBPT
from people posting marketing jobs They think that marketing is knowing how to use Google Analytics.
Yeah.
But apparently nobody knows how to use Google Analytics. I mean, I don't know how to use Google Analytics.
Sleepy says probably they might pause to see if the trade sells. Yes, that probably is a big driver now that you mention it.
Mm-hmm.
Word of mouth on floppies is the marketing for trades. Yeah, it seems to me. Yeah, I would think so too. You know, Marvel and DC combined sells less than 5% of all trade collections. It says manga is 60%, Scholastic is 35%. And of those 60 and 35%, like 5 books make up the most. It's crazy how big the hits are in the publishing. Like 10% of books, 10% of books printed take up like 90% of the sold ones. It is insane. Dynamite pays YouTube channels like Bueller to interview their creators. Mm-hmm. They pay? Really? Not just free books? Good question. Really enjoyed the Chitara miniseries. It deserves a trade. Is that the one you've been reading?
It's
Wilson?
the one I've been buying, not the one I've been reading.
You've been buying?
The one I've been buying.
Yeah, see, here's something that I would never do. I would never pick out a character from a TV media property and do a solo book on the character from the TV media property.
Yeah.
No. The point of doing the nostalgia bit is that people like all of them in one book, but nobody wants to get too cerebral.
But if they want them all in one book, and that one book gives you 7 covers, then imagine how many books and covers we can get if we break the team up into individual characters. You see, you're thinking, Pablo, you're thinking as a reader, not as the publisher who wants to give you more than you can actually.
Exactly. I'm thinking as the reader who has money to spend and is not going to spend money he doesn't have.
Oh, no. You need to spend money you don't have on all these covers. Think of it as an investment.
Yes. No.
I don't know what Dragon Wings is, but I assume it's one of the big ones for Scholastic, like Bones is.
Bone and Dragon Wing. Dragon Wing name is familiar, but I don't recall what that is.
But
I might do a Snarf one shot.
There you go. Because we need to know the origin of a Snarf.
They did do an episode in the TV series with the origin of Snarf.
Bone is a Kickstarter going right now. I think they're putting out oversized hardcover editions of Bone. Mm. And if you want to buy it in the most expensive way possible. I actually just backed Terry Moore's latest project, only the digital edition. Because once again, buying off Kickstarter is the most expensive way to get things possible. He's putting out, I think I just got an update on it, Terry Moore's Covers. It's a book of all of his covers. And I, of course, love books of covers. But it was like $40, $50 plus shipping, which is probably going to be another $15. So I was like, you know what? I'll just get the digital edition. After all, I have the comic books, so I don't need the covers all in one book.
Makes sense.
But I love books about covers, so I was like, I think the digital edition was $15. I'm like, you know what? That's fine with me. Sleepy says, I don't know why Terrence, but they gave him a monthly salary to do a few things for them. Oh, that's Bueller from Dynamite. Okay.
Yeah, the Marvel
used to there's a hot chick on the cover drawn by Jenny Frison. Oh yeah.
But Marvel used to pay Comic Story as well to do stuff.
Why not? I mean, make some money.
I guess we're the idiots. We're not getting paid by anybody.
Yeah. We're not getting paid by Marvel, but you talk about them all the time.
Comic Crack. And there's a nostalgia group that has 5 characters. Each one gets a solo book, and each of those have 12 variants. Cha-ching.
Yes.
Oh, Wings of Fire. My daughter used to read that, says Sleepy, so he knows what that is.
And at $4.99 a comic, so 60 covers, you only need to spend $300.
SBPT says the solo character book has a stronger story than the main team book. I remember you were.
Really?
That's the one that Wilson was buying. Yeah, I remember you were like the main team book. You weren't too happy with, right?
No, I wasn't happy with like the designs and
Right.
story wasn't really holding me. It was just
Right.
one of those things that's definitely nostalgia. And then there was a not one shot. There's another mini series they just put out called, I believe, Alpha, and that seems interesting because now you're following one of the characters. Takes place in the future, in the far future. A bad thing happened, and there's only one Thundercat left, and so you're kind of following his story, and you're wondering what's going on with him. And then in the middle of the story, he has Mumra's powers, but he's definitely a Thundercat. So again, it's one of those things like there's an interesting peek into a possible future that makes it interesting because now you're taking licensed characters that you normally aren't allowed to really mess around with and doing something with it interesting because you're changing the story a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which of the Thundercats would create a situation that in the future would lead to be the last Thundercat with Mumra's powers? I vote Tigra. It has to be. You see, Tigra is like the major domo of the Thundercats.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's Lion-O's squire. Lion-O is the heir to the throne, but he's a cocky kid. Tigra probably gets him like, okay, if I were in charge, I would actually do this right.
Would you like to know who it is?
Yeah, sure.
Spoilers. Just putting it out there. It is Lion-O.
It's Lion-O.
It is Lion-O. And for some reason, he is missing his eye. So the eye of Sundera is embedded into his head, into his face. And he has the ability, Mumra's ability to change into this bigger monster creature.
See, Random Rips, I'm a huge Bone fan and really wish Netflix series had gone through. It's begging to be animated. Oh, yeah.
I tell you, if any comic book has a curse of not being made into an animated series, it seems like Bone. Because there was a good portion, like every 5 years, there would be a Bone animated item announced and just always falls through near the end.
But Jeff Smith already explained why there's no animated series. Because they kept giving him the typical deal where we control everything and you get zero money.
Uh-huh.
And he said, no.
See, Random Rip, he back to Heavy Metal Magazine Kickstarter. Yeah, they just met their goal of $5,000. LLL. Currently at $500,000 pledged. Yeah.
Is that still being run by Kevin Eastman?
I know this is a reprint of something else. So I don't know who's running it, but it's not the same as new Heavy Metal stuff. I think they're like reprinting the old Heavy Metal magazines, including the original French. I forget. I remember reading. I gave a glance at the Kickstarter. Once again, it was expensive.
Right.
So Kickstarters are just like the most expensive way to buy comics. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one popped up. The one that I looked at for a hot second was the Archie one.
Oh, yes.
It's like doing facsimile editions of Archie stuff. But it's like, is that Archie doing it themselves or someone doing it for Archie? It was an oddity in that kind of a thing for... I don't discourage on what they're doing, but I do find it odd when a major publishing company uses Kickstarter.
Was that even Archie or somebody licensed it from them? I wasn't sure. I'm
not sure. I think it might have been licensed. That's why I wasn't sure if Archie's doing it themselves or someone's doing it for Archie.
$100 for 10 issues.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like expensive. And Sleepy says, I think Eastman sold Heavy Metal to some Hollywood people. And Random Rip said, it's new and reprints. Okay. Finity, the timey-wimey limey. I submitted art to Heavy Metal. Yeah, whoever's publishing heavy metal now put out a call for artists to submit cover art to heavy metal. So I think that's what he's talking about there too. Because I know one of my
heavy metal
students.
can't reprint. Heavy metal can't reprint the old good French stuff because it's owned by the creators.
Ah. But I also, speaking of how expensive Kickstarter was, I just got hit by I think it was like a $7 charge. And I'm like, what is this from? I didn't order anything in a while. And I looked it up. Sure enough, it was from, I ordered a set of Great Gatsby playing cards like 6 months ago for like, I don't know, $18, which is already expensive for a set of cards. Then I got another $7 shipping. I'm like, for a deck of cards, they're shipping for just like, don't buy anything. I can't buy anything physical from Kickstarter because it's just so expensive.
Overpriced for shipping. That costs
money.
Yeah. That's shipping and handling. That's what that basically is.
Yeah. They're taking submissions and it's awesome. Wings of Fire was huge with 10 to 12-year-olds. That makes sense, Random Rips. Yeah. I think down here he mentions Stit Goblin says, every time series gets canceled, at least the artist gets the option rights. Well, if it's in their contract. Some artists like when stuff just keeps getting passed after they cut the original check. Yeah, sometimes you just keep getting that option check every 5 years and make some money off it. Sometimes you don't. Let's see. Random Rip says $23 for the print issue is not bad. Magazine of that type are $15 on the newsstands. They do have a lot of variant covers for the book. It's $23 for the print issue that they haven't hit you with the shipping yet. That's always the problem because they don't even tell you about shipping anymore. It's just like $23. It's $23, and then like 2 months later, you're like, oh, here, $10 for shipping. And you're like, what? Shipping wasn't in the price? What are you talking about? That's the way Kickstarter works now. They charge you for shipping 3 months later. TV series, oh yeah, for the option for the TV series or the movie. The Archie Elite package is $1,000 for all 10 facsimiles in metal covers. LOL. Oh my goodness.
If they get it, they get it. But it's like, I don't need Archie that badly to have those particular issues. My mindset is like, I can still find Archies in the 25-cent bin somewhere.
Mobius and Corbin are listed as being in the first issue of the new heavy metal, Random Rip says. Okay.
Yes, but the rights holder are easy to contact and to negotiate with. Right. On Mobius's case, Jean-Marc Officier is still the executor of his estate, and he's in California, so you can get to him. Corbin, I believe you have to talk to his wife, so should be easy. But you can't get Drouillet or NK Bilal stuff because they're with different publishers in France, and you have to go to the publishers to license the stuff.
All right, $15 plus $8 shipping in the States, Random Rip says. Oh, okay, at least you know about the shipping. That's good. That's good. Sleepy Reader, I've grown up to hate upsell add-on pages. You have to go to, when the Kickstarter is ready to ship. Oh, yeah. For another $10, we'll give you this. For another $15 to give you this. For another that's what I did. I've been taken to getting the digital stuff. I can, still support some of the creators I want to support and get some stuff, but I don't feel like I'm getting ripped off. Because that's what happens when I suddenly get shipping charges out of nowhere. Let's see, another comic I got. An Olympus Saga, Null Hunter. Number 4. I think this is 12 issues. Number 3, pardon me. Michael Walsh writing. Gustavo Vargas on art. Becca Carey, letters and design. Laura Dragon, the flatter. And the back cover illustration by Artyom Trakhanov. There's the back cover illustration, in case you want to see it. But this is the one that's the 12 labors of Hercules. And it's pretty fun. And this one, he's just tracking down a woman who's hiding in different people's minds. Takes place in the future. So it's like a sci-fi cyberpunk version of the 12 Labors of Hercules, which I don't even know the 12 Labors of Hercules, so I don't know how it compares to them.
There's a list. The Wikipedia article has a list on
Yeah, I
all of
could
them.
look it up, but you know,
Yeah.
I haven't.
So which one exactly is he doing there?
11th grade Wilson used to know them all.
This is there's a woman who's jacked in to this virtual world, and she's hiding in other people's minds. And he gets hired to jack into this virtual world, and he keeps going into different virtual worlds and chasing her around until he finally gets her, chasing her from virtual world to virtual. So I don't know what labor of Hercules that would be. What's her name? Let's see if that gives us a clue. I don't know. But
Well, it's not cleaning the audience tails.
Let's see. Control Room, Mountain City. Carrion, that's her name. Old man. Let's see if it does. World building is a fun and laborious process. These are all his designs for things. Nope, doesn't tell. Big Hench. There's the boss. Yeah, there's all his designs for stuff too they give you in the back. So that's always fun to look at that.
What
stuff.
issue number is that?
This is issue number 3.
2, 3.
Is there some key to the labors of Hercules he's doing?
Well, there was, there was like, I don't know if the order that he did them in are important, or it's just that was the list of orders. And the third one is capturing I don't know how to even say this word, Silurian Hine. Hercules captures an exclusive Hine of Arcadia. I don't even know what a Hine is. Is that a dog?
Well, he's trying to capture someone.
A hyena? He doesn't get your hyena. Yes.
He's definitely trying to capture someone.
Oh,
Let me post it. Here's how it's written out.
Here it is. Capturing. Oh.
The Serenian Hind. Okay. Yeah. This is it's like a deer. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the third one.
Okay.
And then the fourth one is the boar.
Okay, so the Cyrenaean hind was a creature that lived in Cyrenea, Greece, and took the form of an enormous female deer, larger than a bull, with golden antlers like a stag, hooves of bronze or brass, and a dappled hide that excelled in swiftness of foot and snorted fire. To bring it back alive to Eurystheus in Mycenae was the third labor of Hercules. Okay, so he has to go after a woman who's hiding, so I guess that's the swiftness of foot. And can go to parallel, and she has to be brought back into the real world.
Alive.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, so they modified it where he's going into somebody's mind,
right?
Capturing somebody there and bringing them back.
Mm-hmm.
So the books may be printed in the order of the
12 labors.
Of the 12 labors.
Mm-hmm.
And just here are the first 2 labors.
Killing the Lemurian lion and killing the Hydra.
Slaying Hercules killed the monster that he killed some slaying. Okay, I remember the 9-headed Hydra from last issue. Who was once again jacked into some cyberpunk world. Okay, so they are doing them in order.
Okay, so next week he's going after the pig. Nice.
Yep. Random Rip said they already did some add-ons for heavy metal. Back issues for $8 each. Must be from the archives or something. Let's see. Next issue is capturing the Erymanthian boar. Hercules captures the wild boar of Mount Erymanthus. Who knows how you say that? My Greek isn't very good, as you might imagine.
Again, 11th grade Wilson would have been all over it, but
I remember pronouncing Aristophanes' name Aristophanes. So let's see. Tit Goblin says Heinz are exaggerated into those things in folklore like pop culture loves lately, like things in Princess Mononoke and Pan's Labyrinth.
Mononoke.
Mononoke. And Princess Mononoke. Mononoke is a monkey in something, isn't he? I don't remember.
Maybe. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I could just be rushing my syllables. Rushing my syllables. Want to show us another comic, Wilson?
Sure. So the last comic I picked up from the shelf is issue 12 of Secret Wars. Dr. Doom getting the Beyonders powers and destroying all our superheroes in what they call the Big Bang.
Dr. Doom is always stealing superpowers, isn't he?
That's his thing.
As if it was like a bar of gold. He just goes, I'll take that.
First page. Now, this issue is one of those issues where I started really paying attention to the artist.
Yeah.
Because there was a page here that didn't look right. And what I mean by that, even though it's credited with Mike Zeck as the penciler and John Beatty as the inker, there is a page in here that has a bunch of the monsters that they're fighting. And the art style leads me to believe that it may have been inked by Art Adams.
Uh-huh.
Because when you look at this particular page, that's Paulo.
Not me.
How did that happen?
Let's see if we can get it to.
Uh-huh.
So if you look at the thing and the shape up there, that's Art Adams. Now I don't know if he's penciling and inking, penciling or whatever.
It's just good layout, so he's penciling.
Right. So I had talked to, I over the years I had talked to some people about it. Here's another one, the splash page again. That to me looks a lot like Art Adams, at least inking it. So I had talked to Keith Williams, who's a longtime Marvel inker, and he said he worked on Secret Wars pages too. That the book was running so late that a whole bunch of people were actually asked to work on it. So even though it only credits the two artists on there, there are a whole bunch of more people who are working on the book. And again, this is me in 1984 looking at it going, something looks different and I don't know what it is. I don't mind it, but it looks like the artwork that was in that Long Shot series. So it was like I was connecting the dots at the time where it's like, other people were involved in this series.
Okay, so the Grand Comics database does have notes, and Art Adams did draw page 30 in the story with inks by Mignola. And Adams...
Okay.
Adams did ink other pages, but the uncredited inkers in other pages are Art Adams, Art Nichols, and Joe Rubinstein.
You mentioned Keith Williams. He was an early Romita's Raider, wasn't he?
Yes.
I ask that because I've been doing some more investigating on that piece. That let me show it again for those of them that came into my local comic shop. Let me see if I have it set up right to share. No, I do not. It's in the wrong window.
Yeah, I saw that you had posted a few little updates that you got in contact with Jason Liebig about the package design, and that you also talked to Tom Morgan about the artwork.
Right. Who is also a Raider, but this was from before. How come this got so big? What's going on here? My Photoshop My Photoshop box all of a sudden is bigger than my screen. There we go. I think that's still bigger than the screen down the bottom. I can't reach the bottom of my screen. Oh, well. We'll do it like that. Let me bring it. Oh, it's already there. What are you doing to me? Trying to share the screen, but it's screwing with me. Share screen. Window. There it is. There it is. And trying to figure out, let me bring it closer. This is a piece of artwork that came into my local comic shop, and they were trying to figure out, asking me if I knew who did it, and I wasn't sure. They originally said it hung in the Marvel offices sometime in the 80s, maybe, and it was done by Nestle. Everybody seems to think that's the wrong way around. Nestle wouldn't be pitching Marvel to do this. Marvel would probably be pitching Nestle.
Right. Or Nestle asked, and Marvel created something for them. Because I think I would say it's John Romita Sr. layouts.
Yes.
Maybe Marie Severin's coloring.
Yeah, was she around in the Nestle Crunch packages? Jason Liebig, former Marvel editor and now candy historian, says those candy packages are from 1978 to 1982. So that's our time frame. Was Marie Severin still there then? I don't think she was.
I don't know. I think
George Roussos was the regular color. Matter of fact, George Roussos could have colored this.
That's very well possible.
I hadn't thought of that till right now.
Yeah, if John did the layouts. One of the Raiders could have done the inks, and Joe could have done the coloring, because Joe and Marie's coloring are very similar from that time period.
Yeah,
and if it was inked or colored on a stat, which the paper looks like a lot like a stat paper, that's the kind of effect you would get from it.
Right, that's what Joe Rosas was saying too. But I'm gonna have to look at it closer and see what kind of paper it's on too. But Tom Morgan even suggested Mike Esposito might have something to do with inking it, but he'd nudged. That's just a guess on his part, so I don't know.
Right.
But I'll have to ask. I wonder when Keith was a Raider. Probably sometime in the 80s. And I think he's older than Tom Morgan by a couple of years. So maybe he was around at this time. I'll have to send him a message.
He very well could have been. So yeah, he's on social. He's on Facebook.
Yeah, I think I know I'm Instagram friends with him. I see him on Instagram all the time.
Yeah,
so.
I run into him in cons all the time.
Right. He's always posting pictures of himself at cons. So
yes,
I'll have to ask him. Well, yeah. Well, at least now we got a date on the candy wrappers.
Right.
Of all things, but yeah, George Roussos could have colored that. Now that I hadn't thought of that for some reason.
Right.
Could JR Jr. had done something here? Because there are a few things that are typical of
someone
later.
Suggested that, I think.
But there are things that are typical of later JR Jr., not early JR Jr.
Right. Though that Hulk foot.
Yeah, and the lines used for shading on the Hulk's arms.
Yeah.
And even the Spider-Man's pose. I mean, Spider-Man's pose is a typical Romita pose.
Right.
But it reminds me of the way that Junior drew Spider-Man upside down. Because the muscles, they're thicker.
He's a little bit bulkier than
and that's.
But everybody thinks this is too on model for some ad agency.
Sure, it is. It is,
but that has to be an in-house,
right?
Because so many ad agencies I've seen try to do comic book stuff, and it's obvious they never read a comic or they don't understand the language of comics.
Right.
So I would say this came out of Marvel itself.
Right.
For Nestle. Whether they went to Nestle with it or Nestle asked for it.
And also, Jason pointed out that Nestle during the same time period had a Superman tie-in. They had win a Superman ring on one of these bars. So they already had a superhero tie-in going on.
Right. So this might have, maybe there was a bid between Marvel and DC, and DC won.
Right. That
and this was what was left over for what Marvel created for it.
Mm-hmm. But so far, no one recognizes it from The Office. Okay. But once again, it would have been there in the early 80s, so that was a while ago.
Yeah.
That was not yesterday. Mm-hmm. But that's our update on that, trying to figure out who did that piece and what it's from. Got a little bit closer. Keith Williams, I'm going to have to send it to and ask.
Yep.
He's the next person who might know something.
We'll try to solve this mystery on the newest episode of Comic Book Detectives. Who did what?
I don't think I'm friends with JR Jr. anywhere. I never knew him that well. Met him plenty of times.
He gets into the business in 78, right?
I don't remember.
And if that thing was made in 78, could be Papa Romita. Hey, Junior, you want to draw this for the ad agencies? I'll show you how to do a basic sketch.
Right.
But the thing I see, those things, the way that he draws the Hulk's arms and legs, they're more typical later when Junior was more bulked up and the style that mixes well with Klaus Jensen inks.
Right.
This is not the Romita Jr. that would be inked by Jim Mooney or by Bob Layton.
I wish Bob Wyacek could still see, because he's great. He was great at recognizing inkers. He could probably, if there were any tells in there, he would know. I should check with Mort Todd too. He knew all those. He was very good at recognizing inkers. So another comic I got this week. This is the latest issue. This one's chugging right along. What are we, issue 5 this is? The Power Fantasy. And this is the one about what it takes for Omega level mutants / superheroes to not fight. Because the whole idea is if these guys fight, millions of people are going to die because they're that powerful. They're supposed to be like, Marvel now has this concept of Omega powered mutants, which, Kieran Gillen is the writer on this, and Casper Wingard is the artist, where, Kieran Gillen wrote some of that X-Men stuff. So this is kind of an offshoot of that. And so this issue is about, I thought it was the Heavy, but there's this other guy. I don't know I'm not sure what his name is. This guy here with the mask on. He's another of these Omega powered guys.
Yeah, everybody's going to forget those. Those characters are new and people are going to forget them.
Yes.
Nobody cares.
Right. We don't know who they are. So this is a flashback to the 80s where he created a not cult. The pyramid. You're an arsehole. The stages of the cult where you become an arsehole. And his idea, I don't know his freaking name. But his idea of how to sort of keep everything under control is to create this, was for him to try and control it in terms of, he creates this pyramid cult, 1978, Brixton, London. So it was that long ago. And he will give you as you kind of go up the ladders, he will reveal more secrets to you, and you will get more superpowers. And that's his way of trying to control everything. And he even says that. He's like, we're all assholes. We got to keep each other under control. So most of this is about this flashback to him and his way of trying to keep everything under control. Then we flash forward to 19. And then all of a sudden, all sorts of stuff goes on. We flash. Remember, I told you that Europe just doesn't exist here in this world. Europe got destroyed completely by a couple of these Omega-powered guys fighting, and I think it was from some woman who got power from like some Dread Dormammu dimension. She wanted to come in and take over. And it ends with him just, where does it say it here? 1989, 2 hours after the second Summer of Love. That's when I think Europe was destroyed. And this woman, who's now super powered is like, I think one of his disciples is like, are you crying? And he's like, yes, I think I am. Yes, pardon me. Yes, I fucking am. Why aren't you? I have all the powers of hell at my fingertips. That may not include the ability to weep. And so is the whole pyramid gone? Yes, all 250,000 of them. So he had 250,000 people in this cult, non-cult of his, who all died in this destruction of Europe, though we really didn't find out what happened yet. So it's kind of the story about something that happened. And then at the end of it, the main story takes place in 1999. He goes to the president of the United States and is like, I want to help you out. So it's time to militarize magic, he says. And he's got one line there. It says, the president says, you're British. You can't be president. And the magic guy goes, yeah, I know. Doesn't matter if there's no Britain anymore, but I figure we'll work something out. So I guess he's trying the political approach now. Since 11 years ago, his cult approach didn't work and got all of Europe destroyed somehow. But really fascinating book. I'm enjoying that one a whole lot. Good stuff. Power fantasy. I think one more issue is the end of it gets us. I can never figure out if these, books have 6-issue arcs or 5-issue arcs now. Actually, he said in the back, it's open-ended now. Originally, it was going to be 16 issues. Now it's a little more open-ended. What did he say? I was originally planning the first movement of Power Fantasy to be 12 issues. However, I realized it was way too much material to do gracefully. I could do it, as Dai proved, but I think if we gave it more space, we could. So I think the first movement is 16 issues. And it's funny, he mentions Uber. Well, I've mentioned it before. Kieran Gillen writes Uber that David Heady drew, and it's about what if the Germans got superpowered people at the end of World War II. Really good series from Avatar. And he says, more specifically, we're at least 16 issues. If you look at my career, I promise that as I think it matters, which is one of the reasons why Uber, the one book of mine which stalled without warning near the end of a 51-issue run, grates so. Still, I've written the last 4 issues, and they're ready to be drawn whenever Avatar starts publishing again. It's just 4 issues. Random Rip says, do you have a channel, Paolo? Yes, he does.
Yeah, but I don't use it that much.
But you can go and see our birthday talk from Monday. Paulo did a
Yeah.
live stream
Hmm.
on
You
Monday.
have to put in my name and then write comics. Otherwise, you get wrestling or something.
Yeah. Random Riff says, glad I found you guys. None of my usuals were live yet, and YouTube recommended you. Now sub to Jared and Ramos. All right there.
Cool.
Yeah, you
Thank
get.
you
We
very
do
much,
this.
Brandon.
Glad you're on, but we do this every week. I put up a comic haul video every week. Wilson is on TikTok a lot too.
I'm mostly
He
on
does-
TikTok, and then I usually try to redo the same things and just place them here. And I do have a library of stuff I still have to edit and post up. I have a whole bunch of unboxing videos of Spider-Man books from a few years back that I would buy off of eBay. Hey, Darren, happy
Hey,
holidays
Darren
to you.
says happy holidays, guy. Hello, happy holidays, Darren. And sometimes Darren is on with us too. He's always invited.
And occasionally Chris Giarusso. What was tonight? 34%?
34%. He had a 34% chance of showing up, he said.
That means it's got deadlines.
Not very deadlines. I got deadlines. I'll smoke those deadline cigarettes.
I love deadlines. I like the noise it makes when it goes by. Whoosh.
Ooh, Darren Kane says he
Ooh.
just got the DC 1982 style guide, like many of us. Yeah, saw that came out this week. I did not get it. I have not seen it, but that's
I have not seen it. What's the price on it? Do you know? Or Darren, what was the price of it? I'm curious, because I did not see
For
it.
those of you who don't know, it's famous in 1982, right? That was the year DC hired Jose Garcia Lopez to do a style guide for all of their characters for licensing. So he drew every single DC character, I think it was like front, back, and side and an action pose. And if you wanted to license a DC something, they'd give you this style guide to draw from. And everybody wanted a copy of it, but it wasn't available to the general public. And it kind of became one of these legendary things, like canceled comics cavalcade. And DC finally, when it got around to printing an actual legit book, off the track. I actually looked for it on Amazon, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, I haven't seen it listed anywhere, so I was actually surprised it came out.
Woo, it's $95. Publisher's Standards Manual. Oof.
Wow, that's a pretty penny.
That's
I
a
would
steep
put that
price.
on my wish list. I didn't see it anywhere.
Random Rip says, I have a couple of panels too. I have a live community stream starting Mondays after the new year. All of you are welcome anytime. Okay, we basically do the same thing you guys are doing now. I'm going to have to...
put that on my list to look up later.
And Random Rips, are you also like a sports card channel? Because you've got rips, and I know that's what they call opening packs these days. In the sports card world. My current quest is to complete an Uncle Scrooge run. I'm working on my Amazing Spider-Man run a little. Uncle Scrooge is an unusual one, and it's a tough one. That goes back many years.
Oh, and I've noticed that Random Rips has videos on Hot Wheels. So if you ever get any toy cars, I am a automotive journalist and a former motorsports rider. So I'm a car guy. I did the reporting from the Indianapolis 500 once and from the Le Mans 24 Hours 7 times.
Here's one of my Johnny Lightnings I randomly have on my desk. I occasionally have toy cars. I used to collect toy cars like in the late 90s when they were really dirt cheap.
Yeah, I have the kind of the same thing. I have Johnny Lightnings, Hot Wheels, and Matchbox, but they all need to be related to televisions, movies, cartoons, or comics. So those are the cars that I have. So I have Batmobiles, the Mach 5, any kind of car that was related. Matchbox is recently doing Indiana Jones ones, cars that appeared in the Indiana Jones movies.
I have no idea what kind of car this is. I can't read on the bottom.
Is that a Chevrolet a highly modified Chevrolet Nomad?
I don't. I need my. Hold on. I need my magnifying glass.
I do not know cars by the looks of them. I can tell you what the Batmobile looks like, the Spidey buggy, and stuff like that.
When I bought, let's see,
Where'd you
Playing
paint those
Mantis,
also, Jared?
This one does not tell you what type it is on the bottom.
It doesn't.
No,
but that's a Hot Wheels, right?
No, this is a Playing Mantis, Johnny Lightning.
Ah.
They did normal sort of cars usually, not. And it's got some sort of markings on the back.
But that's a lowrider. It's not a regular car. A lot of modern Hot Wheels are like that.
It says Ambler on the back with an R. It could be some modified.
It's a Rambler? I think so.
Oh yeah, Rambler. That's what it says. It's an R. So it got an R and then Ambler underneath it, but on the side it says Rambler.
It is a Rambler wagon, yeah.
With an R like Robin, like yes, Robin's.
The Rambler was built by the American Motors Corporation, which was when the Nash Calvinator company merged with Hudson Motors. Eventually, they were taken over by Renault in France. But when that happened, the U.S. government forced Renault to sell off the military division, the military vehicles division part, because they couldn't have Renault was owned by the French government at the time, and they couldn't have a French government own a U.S. defense contractor. So that's how you got Hummer. The Humvees have the same grille as the Jeeps, but Renault kept Jeep. But had to sell off AM, the military division as AM General, and they did the Humvees.
And back in the 90s, I bought a whole bunch of these yellow Dodge Vipers just so I could paint on them. Here I was trying out the acrylic markers. I used to use Testors enamel paint. But now I've decided to try, since I recently started using these acrylic marker pens. They work really well on this. I'll have to paint some. This was just kind of a test one to see how well it worked, and it did.
And I just ordered some silver paint to test it out on some of my Battlestar Galactica action figures, because I have these Cylons that I bought loose, but like the chrome on it is gone. So I kind of want to redo the chrome on these.
I've got some Artfinity chrome ink. That might work well for that.
This is a model of one of the Vipers that raced at Le Mans in the 1998 edition. So the cars were completely built in France. Yeah, and they were run by a company called Oreca, who were a long-standing motorsport engineering company, and they were in charge of building the competition Vipers.
Then I also have vehicles like this. In order for me to find a Scooby-Doo van, I had to buy like a 5-pack. So this is just a generic Jeep with Fred's head on top of it.
Okay.
But it's like this car never appeared on anything Scooby-Doo. But in order for me to get the Jeep, the Mystery Machine, I ended up having to get the 5-pack. And then later on, they made a whole bunch of different Mystery Machine cars.
What do they call those in the Hot Wheels? What, Tampos? That's what the decals that are on, like the...
I don't know. I don't know any of the real jargons for it.
I think Tampos. I think they call them Tampos, the decals that they stick on the sides of them.
It's possible, because I have a few Johnny Lightning ones that they did, like they put Ditko's art on Spider-Man images on a bunch of the cars for a little while. So I did pick up some of those, but I prefer to get vehicles that actually appeared in the movies shows. So it's like, and then that spins off to like the Star Trek stuff or Battlestar Galactica. Is why I ended up picking up, because they're from that kind of like time period.
When I was like buying cars in the 90s,
This
a Matchbox
is
was $1. What was that?
This is a 3D printed model.
Ah,
nice. They made it while I was at the Toyota media presentation when Toyota went back to Le Mans.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. It's like the Matchbox and Hot Wheels were $1, and the Johnny Lightnings were the expensive ones at $3.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like cars are like $10 a piece. Not the base Hot Wheels ones, but like the whatever specialty Batmobile you're buying.
Yeah, the specialty ones are like $6.99. I'd rather get the base $1 or the 99 cents Hot Wheels one.
Yeah,
and I still have pretty good luck on finding those. And occasionally, like for a thrift store that I have near me, I occasionally will buy bags of just loose cars, because you go in them and you can usually find a pretty good one. And I had not too long ago, and I did a video on it, that I had gotten a Batmobile, the submersible car from James Bond. It was the white car with
right.
So that, and even found like what's considered like one of the hard ones to get from Hot Wheels is this van. That's the name escapes me right now, but there's a van that has surfboards on it, a beach bum, and apparently that's a very expensive Hot Wheels car, especially if it's in great condition. Right. The one I had is all beat up, but it turned out to be like one of my highest videos, because it was like, I'm showing off these cars that I found in the thrift store, only to realize I have one that was at one time considered one of the more expensive ones. But the car that I have, I think it's the second release, because the one because I watched tons of videos about this car, that it was so sought after of the prototype in the first few. Then after that was like a regular release. The regular release is still a sought after car, but it was like, oh, I'm just sitting here. Here's what I got for $12, and just passing it by, and people were just talking about that one vehicle.
Let's see here. Random Rip says, my current quest is, we read that one. I do a lot of card rips, more non-sport stuff these days. Okay, so that's what he does on his channel. Darren Kane also got the Art of G.I. Joe hardcover omnibus, pricey as well, but those two are my holiday gifts to myself. All right. Random Rips about to rebrand to Random Reads and shift more to comics, I do believe. Wow, that is cool, Paolo. He liked your car too. Oh yeah, I love those old pre-1980s trucks, especially the El Caminos. I really like. Yeah, Johnny Lightning always made some nice cars.
I enjoyed the Johnny Lightnings because they not only made the cars, but they made other stuff like the ships and robots from Lost in Space.
Right.
And for a short while, they were doing not only would they do the cars, but they will also give you like a piece of film clip.
Oh yes, yes.
Pretty cool, especially for like the cartoon cars.
Random Riff said they do a lot of nice licensed stuff like Speed Racer cars, Blues Brothers, Christie. Yeah, I have some wacky racer cars that they did that were good. I was also in the late 90s, ever so briefly, in the Johnny Lightning Club, where they sent you a car in a metal tin every month or two. That was kind of fun.
Oh, here's that van that I was talking about.
Uh-huh. Oh, I recognize that one, yeah.
And then, of course, when I did the video, I had people contacting me. And it's like, would you take $9 for that?
Yeah.
It's like, no, these are just cool. But it's like, I may not know what I have, but I know a little bit.
Darren Kane says, when I was a kid in the 80s, I was huge into freestyle bikes, Redline, GT, etc. For whatever reason, it didn't then translate into being into motorcycles or cars. Gotta run. Merry Christmas, guys.
Take care,
Christmas to
Darren.
you.
Good to have you here.
Random Vid says, I'm trying to customize an Aztec to look like the one I used to drive. Stripped it, painted it with tester's paint, noticed some rubber wheels and tiny Grateful Dead stickers.
You used to own the ugliest car in North America? No, seriously. The ugliest car in the world at the time, it was either the Pontiac Aztec or the Fiat Multipla. Now, the Aztec was only sold in North America, and the Multipla was only sold in Europe.
Cool.
So they never crossed. But the thing is, both of them now have huge followings.
Random Rip says, I got a few Divergent mystery machines. The big Jada one, too. I love Scooby-Doo. Tit Goblin says, I loved Vipers when they came. Viper's a nice-looking car. Even watched the TV show and read the comic. My first girlfriend dumped me for a dude that owned a Viper.
I'm sorry.
When your love betrays you.
Yep.
Your love for cars and
It's
your
the
love
car.
for
Yep.
I did kind of guess that you didn't like them after that. That's really cool. Yeah. $1.25 for mainline Hot Wheels. Special ones are 3 or 6. Yeah, Johnny Lightnings are 10 to 50. That's what really the Johnny Lightnings just and then all of a sudden there became a lot of brands that copied Johnny Lightning. There weren't that many brands copying Hot Wheels and Matchbox at $1 a car, but at $10 a car, there were a lot of them copying Johnny Lightning.
Yeah.
They went up over $1 for the first time ever about a year ago. Yeah, and the Hot Wheels and Matchbox ones started getting more and more plastic pieces too. The Bond submersible car.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that Aztec was the ugliest rear end, and you couldn't see out of the back window of that stupid thing across the back. M2 makes some nice cars too. Do you know what?
You're in Portugal. We had a French brand called Majorette. That you could get them everywhere. But if you didn't want a Majorette, Matchbox actually had better cars. Corgi did some nice ones too. At least if you crashed them against the wall, they didn't fall apart.
I like the Corgis. This one's one of my favorites from that haul because it just says Lee Car on it.
Le Car, yeah, that's the name.
Le Car.
And it opens.
That's the Renault. Yeah, Le Car was the name in the United States. That thing is a Renault 5.
Yeah, I remember TV commercials for that. Le Car, Le Car, Le Car. I can remember. I've never heard anyone mention this car in real life, but when I was a kid, we used to race our Matchbox and Hot Wheels cars, of course, on the Hot Wheels track.
Right.
And I had the fastest car. And it was a Saab Sonnet. Never heard anyone mention it in real life. Never seen one in real life, but I still remember.
A few years ago, we had one in the National Classic Car Championship. A guy had a Sonnet Series 3. So that one had the 1.5 V4 engine. They later came out with a 1.7.
It was a really fast Matchbox car. I don't know why. I don't know what made it faster than all the other ones, but my Saab Sonnet won every race. What years did it come out?
Mid-70s.
Mid-70s?
Yeah.
I don't think it ever made it to the US because I've never heard anyone mention one.
It did make it to the US. The problem is that it was expensive for a small sports car. We're talking the price of a Lotus for the power of an AMC Pacer.
I have some Corgi and a bunch of Matchboxes. Random riffs. Le Car, Rabbit, you go. Happy Halloween. Happy holidays, boys.
Happy holidays, Liz.
Halloween. I don't know what I'm reading sometimes. Happy holidays, Liz. Nice to see ya. Let's see. The last comic I got for the week is a reprint. Colorized. Space Usagi. Number 2 of 3. This is White Star Rising. And it's an Usagi Yojimbo from the early 90s. Of course, it came out in black and white then. I think there was only like three issue miniseries of Space Usagi, and this might be the third one they're reprinting. they're just, I guess they just want to get them colorized and so they can put them out in trade paperbacks. But it's just like Usagi Yojimbo, except it takes place in space. And there's spaceships and laser blasters and psychics and stuff like that. So another good, and this was a little bit longer too than a normal. It's, how many pages is it? It's 28-page Usagi story, and then we get a new backup that's, let's see, 9 to 16, so it's 8 pages. And I don't know, is this credited? I don't know if this is Usagi or his daughter. Let me see, is it in the front? Yes, it's story, art, and lettering by Julie Sakai and Stan Sakai. So I know he's been doing stuff with his daughter, sort of kids stuff. So this is one he's doing with his daughter in the back, a little 8-page. So I guess 3 times 8 is 24. So I guess it'll be a 24-page comic when all is said and done. But Usagi's always good. Always good. Oh, and I never showed you this. I picked up the mini pops. This is another Friends mini pop. And it's like the one Wilson got, except a little more expensive. This is Central Perk. So it's Rachel in the coffee house. Hot coffee. Well, so this neat. One came in. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. It's $10, I think it was, to go with the rest of my mini pops, my friends' mini. Sometimes I take her out and I just sit her on the top. Leave it on my desk like that. She's holding a cup of coffee in this one. This isn't the same Rachel from the little sets. So there's a mini pop. Mini pop, Gary. Oh, want to see an uncomics related weird thing I got this week?
Sure.
A $15 digital camera. I see these like all the time on Amazon and places for like $50 to $100. And I was always like, and they're like, 48 megapixel vlogging camera or something. And I was like, what is a 48 megapixel $50 camera like? But I never wanted to spend $50 to find out. So I saw this on eBay pop up, brand new from some warehouse in Florida. I guess it's an open box. I have no idea who makes it. Some cheap Chinese thing probably, but it was $14 and change, shipped and taxed. So I'm like, all right, I got one just out of curiosity. And so far it's okay. I took some test pictures with the video was terrible. The video was jumpy, and I'm like, I gotta see. And the interface is clumsy, as you might expect. LOL, 48 megapixels for $50. That's funny. Yes, exactly. That's why I wanted to see what it was. One of my students was like, maybe you shouldn't plug it into your computer. And it actually comes with 2 batteries. I was shocked at that. But yeah, a $15 48 megapixel camera, which for some reason wouldn't take pictures at 48 megapixels. I turned it down to like 42 megapixels and it worked fine. I'm like, why is it not taking any pictures at the highest photo setting? I don't know. That's just a funny little thing I got this week. Oops. That's neat. I haven't seen those mini pops yet. I am not a fan of Funko Pops, but I saw these mini pops and they were on sale for like I got the Friends and the Parks and Recs one I ended up getting. And I was like, I'll try them out. Let me show. And I found them to be.
And then after Jared had mentioned finding those, I ran into some superhero ones at Five Below. So I got the Spider-Man one, and then I got the Batman one. And it took me a while to figure out how to actually get the figure out, because they're in there like that. So
right.
But it was like, and then I also thought, am I missing figures? Because there's space, so you can have like Batman visit Spider-Man in his background. And the background is just a piece of paper, so it was kind of a cute thing. And I've seen other ones, but yeah, I got these at Five Below. But I could not find like the single ones that Jared had originally had, where they had the smaller pops on.
Here they are. Here's how they come. A lot of them you can get in this. The full retail price is $15 for these four. You can get them on sale for a few dollars off, often on Amazon or eBay. And what I like about them is they're very tactile. There's four of them. They sit in. Here's the I wasn't even sure what this case was going to be made out of. If it was like cardboard or something, but it's plastic. It's so they slip in and out of this. There's a little finger hole there to push them out. And you can take them out and you can set them on that way too. So I just end up sort of like being that I'm a fidgeter. They're kind of a good fidget toy that I'll just sit there as I'm watching TV and pick them up. Whoops. Take them in and out. Set them all up like this. Put them all back. Look at them. They make a good fidget toy for me. And there's 3 regular ones and a chase figure. So the fourth one is always a chase figure. In this case, the chase figure is Joey in his white cowboy outfit. This is like the rarest. It's like 1 in 6, I think it is, which I, of course, got 3 times.
Right.
Because that's the way it works with chase figures. Yeah.
What's interesting is that my brother, who's a Transformer collector, that there's a subset of people in the Transformer communities who like the Transformers for the tactile feel, and they're fidgeters. And they would have, their regular collection of Transformers, but they would also have what's called a desk Transformer. That's the Transformer they keep on their desk that they can fidget with and then put it back and then pick it up and fidget with. So I wanted to know, do you have a Transformer that you fidget with? Or it's just those pops is what you usually use?
Now, I can fidget with any. I actually have. This is what I fidget with. This is a piece of dog chain that I've had in my pocket for this particular one since 2000. So I have this in my pocket that I sit there and twirl sometimes.
Right.
So I carry this with me all the time. This is my main fidget toy, I guess. And then, of course, like my main fidget toy for this show has been, in a lot of shows, you'll see me sitting playing with these are the 2 foam rings that came on last year and last February. I bought a Nintendo Switch. And these are the 2 foam rings that were over the joysticks, and I've played with these 2 foam rings more than the Nintendo Switch. So I don't have a single fidget toy, but I have a series of them that I, and where though I think these other ones are still on my desk. My sister,
Micromasters are good Transformers to fidget with. They're small. Yeah. You can have all of them set up on the desk, and you choose the one that you want to.
If you go to old shows, you can see me fidgeting with these magnetic rings. So this was one I fidgeted with for a while on the show too. But like I said, these are next to my chair. I can fidget with these or my dice that I have next to there too. But these I also like. These cases are stackable, so I think I like these better than like the Darth Vader shaped case. Mm-hmm. Not big in Funkos, but I love the Sandman comic. This was the Dream figure for $10. I have one thing I have done with the Funkos. I haven't done any in a while. I still got one out over there started. Was I got some really cheap Funkos on Amazon and painted them. So this is some random character, I don't remember who, that I got for like $3 and ended up painting it with those aforementioned acrylic paint markers. So I've actually done, here's the first one I did. Actually, this is the first one I did. This is the guy from The Witcher, the Bard. But I actually painted 6 of these. And I also painted, where is he? Iron Man's original gray armor. Yeah, let me show you this. Which I put all of these groovy psychedelic designs on. I just happened to see this like on once again on Amazon, and it was just solid gray. And I was like, you know what? I bet I can paint on that. And sure enough, I've been buying a lot of acrylic brush markers because they work real well on stuff like this.
See, I like that design on it, because that looks like, what if Iron Man left his armor outside Archie's school and all the kids from Archie started painting on it during the
it looks like he's wearing a sweater that Grandma knitted for him.
Mm-hmm. Wow, cool. Never thought about painting a Funko. Yeah, and they're real easy. Here's one I just started, a bobblehead. I think he's one of the Eternals. So far, I just painted his hair. They're real easy to paint. The first one, I was like, ooh, let me try priming it. So I primed it with white first, but I found I don't even need to do that. I just paint right over the existing paint with, in the last couple of years, everybody and his mother has come out with acrylic paint markers. And that's what I've been using for them. They cover really well. Even Sharpie just came out with some last year. I bought some of those. I think these are Sharpie acrylic paint markers. But works well.
They stay on it? There's no rub off or anything like that?
No, not at all.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. LOL Iron Man from the Summer of Love. Yeah. Tony Stark got into psychedelics instead of booze in the late 70s. Yeah. Yeah, I just saw that all gray armor just jumped out at me and I went, I gotta paint that. And that's something I can do to sit there and relax too. Just kind of go, I don't have to think about it. And
I've kind of been doing that with the toy repairs and with the refurbish of them, where I'm like getting some old toys that are the 3.75 size and planning to do some paints on it. Well, this is an old Mork from Ork figure.
Right.
This collection is a great collection to get because it's a dead collection and they only made one action figure. So I'm done. So I have 2 of them. I have this one, and then I have one that's a little more final. So I'm going to use the other one to kind of basically paint this one. And the funny thing is, history-wise, so Mattel made this, when the show came out. But like every good toy company, they didn't even reinvent anything. They basically repainted their Battlestar Galactica figures and just gave them a different head. But it's the same body. The mold is just slightly different on the chest. So Adama has kind of like this sweater pattern on it, where Mork is just a regular pattern. So, but basically the whole body is the same. And there's about, I think, a 7-year difference between the two.
No sense in doing a new mold. Nobody will notice.
And yes, Tick Goblin, he did come in a space egg. So that's basically his spaceship is an egg.
Did he come in a? And
the only thing that I'm missing is the cover. And the original one was a white cover with a little window so you could see Mork sitting in there. And that was basically how this figure came in. So I eventually found the bottom egg piece on Macari or something like that. And that was basically how this toy came. They did make a 12-inch one, kind of similar to like the Mego ones. So they did make a 12-inch talking doll, but it was like, since I've been fascinated with this kind of scale, I've been having fun with them.
And these are just some random acrylic marker paint sets that are like, $20. They're made in China to be sold cheaply in the US. And they're good for, and they're almost all at Utilo Paint Craft. These ones are all black, right? An 8-pack of black. And I've actually 8-pack of white ones. I've actually been drawing with some of the black ones. I think here's 12 black ones. So I've just been trying them out because they're like anywhere from $10 to $15 a set, usually on Amazon or wherever you can find them. I think these are the ones I've been drawn on paper with. Even they're pretty neat for drawing on paper because they're such a rich black paint, but they draw like a magic marker kind of thing.
Right.
So
I've been picking up not acrylic. I've been picking up alcohol markers from Five Below.
Oh yeah.
Mainly because it's more of a convenient. They were nearby. I was doing those Transformer sketch cards.
Right,
and
right.
Megatron doesn't have that many colors. It's just different forms of grays.
Yeah.
So I ended up like using up a lot of my grays and was like, oh, I need more markers. I don't have time to order them. And I remembered, oh, wait, Five Below has been selling like sets of just grays, like 10 different grays.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it's like I ended up picking up that just because it was just a convenience. And it's like, they worked in a pinch. So it's like I've been getting more and more of stuff like the art supply stuff from Five Below just to test them out.
There are so many cheap Chinese marker knockoffs. Like here's a set. Pro markers, alcohol, 60 marker set. Like I said, cheap Chinese and made in China. Like a set of like Copics like this, let's say 60, that would be $200-$300. But this was like $20. And I got this just for the kids next door when they come over to use.
Right.
But yeah, there's so many super cheap sets of knockoff markers these days. I don't know what the light fast qualities of them. But I use Copics and Blicks and Artfinities for my stuff. So not that, but you can get like there's so many cheap knockoff markers that like how much the ones you get from Five Below, are they cheap?
Yeah, they're like $5 a pack.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
if even I've got them for $3, and then it's not like a pack of 6; they're like a pack of 12.
Yeah.
And I've got other ones. I got a set from Barnes and Nobles for like I think $14, and that was like 24 markers.
Right.
They worked well.
Mm-hmm.
They were fine.
Yeah, especially for like stuff you're doing for those sketch cards. You don't need anything fancy for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Did you come at a giant specie? Yes, and ages backwards. Remember when Jonathan Winters was a baby when he showed up? Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Winters. Mork from Mork. Mm-hmm. Rachel fell off the roof of Central Perk. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Why?
Whoop, now she's looking backwards. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I actually pre-ordered this at Amazon one day. I usually never pre-order anything. But it was like it wasn't coming out till like mid-November. I was like, and it was like September or October. I was like, yeah, I feel like getting something. Let me get that, even though I won't get it for a month and a half. Well, I got a lot of stuff piled on up on my desk tonight.
Believe you me, I know what that's like when I do the TikTok lives and I'm opening stuff and I have a lot of followers who are young kids and they're always asking, "Do you have this figure?" Oh, sure. Let me go get it. Here you go. Here you go. And then so by the time I go to bed, I wake up and just the desk is full of nothing but toys and no real rhyme or reason. It's like one thing leads to another, but not necessarily. It doesn't stay in Marvel. It'll go off to, oh, do you have Star Wars? Do you have wrestling? And it's like, no, I don't have wrestling, but I do have this or that. So that it turns out to be a lot of fun. Again, I'm realizing social media is just basically show and tell and book reports. That's basically what we're doing.
I gotta change out my Rambler tonight. I have all the cars I used to collect are out in the garage, and they're in little drawers. I bought a bunch of those, those tiny little plastic cabinets with drawers in them that are for like hardware.
Yes, I use those as well for the parts and the extra stuff for the action figures.
I've got all little cars in them. I got like 10 of those all little cars. And I usually keep one on top of my drawing table here. And every now and then I'll go out and swap them out.
I have like two big shot glass cases.
Uh-huh.
And you take it, I got them from Michael's. You take it, you turn it sideways, and they're perfect size for the Hot Wheels cars. So I have them behind me on the wall.
On TikTok.
So I have those behind me. So I keep them. I keep the ones that I have open in there, and then I have a like a Hot Wheels case that I have cars in as well, just to store them somewhere. But I have cars all over the place, and even though shot glass case is nice because you can open it up in the cabinet, but there's only so many you can keep in them. And I've seen like heavy Hot Wheel collectors use these kind of like milky white containers that I guess was originally for like fishing lures and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And so they're cases, and they've been using that on their walls to do their whole Hot Wheels collection because they could do a whole wall display on it. It's like, that's beautiful. It's not something I'm going to do, but it's like, oh, but that's an idea because those cases are not that expensive compared to the ones from Michael's where I was doing the shadow box for a while, and it was fun, but you're kind of limited in space, and you got to really wait until when Michael's has a deal. They have great deals. So normally they sell for like $44, but when they have the deal, you like get them for 10, like 2 for 10.
That all the Michaels, AC Mortgages, all those like arts and crafts places jack their prices up by twice and then have half price sales a lot, or give you a half price coupon.
Yes.
I know, because whenever you go to art supplies, I'm like, what? No.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $40 for that $20 art supply.
Exactly. So it's like, I'll wait till they have their sale and then I'll pick them up. Another thing that I found that they had at Michael's, which is a lot of fun that I've been using for toys, is they made a carrying case for your photos. So the small cases for the photos, and you put those small cases into a bigger case, and they're like a perfect size for action figures and action figures accessories, and those end up being very useful.
It's funny sometimes. Sometimes I'm in the supermarket, and of course they have Hot Wheels and Matchbox in the supermarket. And I'm always like, I feel like getting a car. I should just get a new Matchbox car. Then I'm like, no, walk out to the garage. You've got 1,000 of them that you haven't seen in 20 years. Open up one of the drawers and take it out.
But you need a new one. But I know what you mean. I definitely know what you mean.
And that's when I come home and open up one of the drawers and go, oh, I didn't know I had that. A Rambler wagon. Looks cool with its green and black and silver paint scheme, a little silver. And I like the white wall tires. I
Yeah.
really appreciate white wall tires on a model car. They look cool. Well, we should wrap it up for the evening. Let Paolo get to bed.
Oh yeah.
Some balloons. Well, we need some confetti. Some balloons. Come on, balloons. There we go. Lasers. We need all the fun stuff before we go.
That's
right. Doctor Strange laser show.
There we go. Well, let's say good night to everyone out there.
See ya.
Thanks for stopping by, everybody.
Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by Random Rips. Now let's stop. Like I said, we're on every Friday night, it seems. Just about having a good time. I don't like to say we're on every Friday night just because I might jinx it.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Well, if you're not on, I will do a
there
show
you go.
instead of you.
Well, we'll catch you next Friday. Like I'm always like, I always think I'm gonna jinx it, and like next Friday, no one will show up.
No, you'll have to start posting a percentage like Chris.
For me, it's 100%. I'm always like, I got my schedule cleared. Okay.
All right.
So everybody have a good week out there, and we'll catch you next time.